something I came across in a state park, some game lands near eastern, well, I guess like central Pennsylvania. And this is becoming a common scene, something that we're not used to seeing. So I'm going to play the video I made of it, and we'll pause it and we'll talk about it. And then maybe we'll look up what we need to know, what we don't need to know. Now I know this is pissing hunters off in the area, so they don't like this. So I'll play it and we'll see what it is, right? So it says
Okay.
free testing chronic wasting disease. So CWD, people know it as air quotations the zombie deers, right? Where their skin is, their flesh is falling off, and it's just terrible for their mouths, and it's a nightmare for your forest. So one of these drop offs popped up nearby, so I stopped and filmed it. All right, something I've never seen before. This chronic wasting disease testing bin, if you will, is for collecting deer heads only. You can see the instructions written there. Now, see. All right, so free chronic wasting disease testing. Now, you're directed deer heads only, so not to put clothing in, or this isn't a Goodwill bin for shoes or whatnot. You leave your deer tag on the ear, write your name on it, blah blah blah. Place it in the provided bag, yada yada yada. The catch is they keep your head. So if you here's like a hunter, right? He just killed a 12-point buck, but he's worried it's disease because he doesn't want to eat it. So then he sends it in. They're not going to get the antler or skull back or anything. So when you send it in, they're not going to give you your antlers back and your skull back or anything. So just know that. But the threat is really to the animal itself. It's not supposed to be transmittable to humans, right? That's what I've read.
Right.
So this is
So,
specifically for the deer and the elk community, and they don't recommend people eating a deer that has this disease. So that's what I know about it. That's not everything to know about it. But we'll play the video and we'll just take a look at it too.
CWD is kind of like the zombie deer
Right.
you see. Now, I've never seen something like this in Pennsylvania. This is a management area, so I imagine it's tested positive here. So, does anybody have
okay.
anything like this in their neck of the woods? Or
There you go. That's all I got. Just a quick ask, and I did get a comment. And this guy says
Oh,
this guy's from PA. He says we have very few deer anymore. Yet the Game Commission wants to sell licenses to hunt. We have hardly any deer in northern there of PA. So hunters don't like it, dude. And I talked to
well,
a few people that hunt, and they say they're putting these up, and then they're limiting tags and everything in the woods. So I don't know really jack shit about it, to be completely honest. I just know these are popping up, and nobody's talking about
well,
it. So
I know what that
I
is.
want to hear you.
You,
Yeah. I don't
you
want to hear zombie apocalypse either. I've been watching Walking
no,
Dead for 2 months,
listen,
rewatching it all. So this was like, uh-oh, here we go,
no,
zombies.
no, listen. There are
All
two big
right.
things that are going
Don't,
on right now in the
yeah.
United States. One is CWD, which is chronic wasting disease. The other that Michigan people are having right now is EHD,
EHD.
epizootic hemorrhagic disease. They're finding deers that, and okay, so EHD is a viral disease that's transmitted by some biting flies. It causes symptoms like fever, swelling, drooling.
Yeah, I pulled it
That
up. I
looks
got
like,
it.
yeah.
Oh, man,
And
it's poor animals, too.
and chronic wasting disease is something that's completely different. They're not the same.
No.
Okay.
They have articles.
EHD has periodically affected deer across the U.S., including Missouri and other states for decades. And it has significant short-term impacts on the deer population, but it's never been shown to have a long-term impact on the population in general. EHD, okay, this hemorrhagic thing that's going on like in other states and Michigan and things like that, totally different disease. And it's but they're finding deer. Okay, and this is a clip moment.
Go ahead.
The reason why you don't drink from natural springs unless you've got a filter is for things like this, everybody. There's dead animals that are floating. Deer are some pretty big dead animals, and they're diseased.
And that takes years for a river to,
well,
not
a
years,
lot of
but
states,
it takes a long time.
what multiplies with compounds of this issue and why natural springs can be affected is that a lot of states are having a drought right now.
Yeah.
So the bacterial count will go through the roof. Okay.
That's what it says. The insects live in the dry mud. So when the mud all dries out, it forms like an infestation for them. So that's
it does.
They're hoping for a good frost, and the frost kills all that shit.
Yep. It's a frost and more rain. We need more rain, here in the Northeast. But
see, you think rain would increase that, but it really helps them.
Rain helps it so that the deer don't get sick. The deer drinking from infected areas,
and then I was reading that CWD can last in the soil and in water for over 2 years or more. So like,
so there's going to be lots of open permits out there to take down the buck population. That way, the does aren't, they're not breeding, they're not spreading it, they're not doing anything like that. But they want to do an open season in a lot of states now because of this. And if you go on YouTube, you can see videos of people finding floating dead stags, bucks, in lakes and rivers. And they're pulling them out. And same thing, they're
testing their heads.
Calling the Department of Game Wardens, and they're reporting it. So if you come across a dead deer, report it to your local game warden.
Yeah.
That way they can track this
I would love to talk to a game warden about this, or the guy that's got to get the deer heads and process them. I'd hang out with them. I'd be like, dude, you want to do an interview or something? So if you're the head guy, hit me up.
Well, not only that, don't forget, we have what are they called? Northwoods Law. That's really big on discovering all these channels where you have Maine game wardens and New Hampshire fishing game wardens.
Yeah.
And Vermont fishing game wardens. It might be beneficial for me to make a phone call and see if we can get one of these guys.
I would love for an expert to give me the lowdown on this, because we're just researching like a normal person would after running into something like that, and they don't want to get freaked out because they're hiking there. You know what I mean? They just want to educate themselves. So the last thing I want to bring up, can humans get this disease? It says no, humans cannot get EHD. Even if you are bitten and infected by a gnat, you will not get EHD. The answer to this question relative to CWD, this is what scares me, zombies, apocalypse, is not too clear. To date, it appears there's a barrier that prevents humans from getting it, even after eating prions from the infected deer or elk. So even though people have been eating this confirmed, they have not gotten any of the side effects. But here's what's scary.
Why? Because they cook the meat. That's why.
However, some scientists who are concerned about CWD because of this happened with mad cow disease. Humans initially ate the infected beef and didn't get the disease until about 10 years later.
Yeah, it morphs. We all know that. Protein, morph, and the prions. Yeah,
man. So
that's some heavy microbiology right there. When you're
so this is something to keep on everybody's radar. If you're if you're a backpacker, if you're a homesteader, and you think this is something that may or may not affect you, it doesn't matter, blah blah blah. Well, the forest. Whoever's running your forest areas in your state, they're not checking your private land too much. So if you kill a deer and you have this free service nearby, I might consider dumping a head in if you're a landowner or something. I mean, would you not, or what?
Well, no.
Would you want to test it, or you don't care?
No, if I found anything I find dead, I'm gonna look at it.
Like if you found a dead deer sitting in your river and his face was melty, and you're wondering,
calling the game warden.
You're wondering if a bear was at it or what? Yeah.
I'm calling a game warden, okay? Because I need to report it to the
so that's what you
officials in my state as what's going on, so that they have a heads up and they know what's going on.
Not to freak people out, but it is something to potentially look at, and if it does get serious, we just saw people not allowed to hike, because of wildfires and all this other stuff. Like, are they going to be able to use these diseases down the road to keep people from, doing stuff? We don't know. But the hunters think they're using these kind of areas to kind of, they're not happy. There's multiple reasons.
I'm going to give you a cheat sheet
So-
how you can tell if a white-tailed deer died from CWD, chronic wasting, or if it died from EHD,
Yeah.
epizootic hemorrhagic disease. If it died from EHD, it's got a blue tongue.
Yeah, that's what it said. Yep, blue tongue or BT.
And yeah, blue tongue. So the CWD, it's not going to have a blue tongue. So that's a cheat sheet for you, so you
Well,
know. But any dead big game that you find out in the woods,
yeah.
you're going to report that to Fish and Game, without a doubt. Are they going to come out right away? Probably not, because it's already dead. But when you may not know that there is a wasting disease epidemic going on right now in certain states.
No, and I don't see people yelling it from the mountaintop either. But dude,
right.
If there's something going on in a small scale, I think it's happening in a bigger scale, and they're trying to maybe start managing certain areas to just see how bad it is.
It just means that there's too many deer. That's what it means.
Yeah.
There's too many deer right now, so you've got to bring the population down. And the way to bring that population down is to have the hunters
start blasting them.
Okay.
Deer kill a lot of people too with car accidents in Pennsylvania, jumping out in front of them.
Well,
they're worried about that too.
They do that here in Maine too, and that's where the open seasons come in. But you've got to report it. The other thing, if you want to read a great article about it, NorthAmericanWhitetail.com has a great article where it talks about it. It comes from, whitetail hunters aspect. Hunters and foragers, we're the first ones that are notifying Fish and Game when we see an imbalance in the ecosystem that's out in the woods. So, NorthAmericanWhitetail.com's got a great article on it. I highly encourage you guys to look it up and to read about it if you want to know about it. And it goes without saying, you find something dead. First of all, you're going to smell it if it's not on a lake. If it's on a lake, you're still going to smell it, but you're really going to smell it out in the woods.
Yeah,
and
dude.
So I don't recommend following a death smell because it could be a bear or a big cat that's eating it or storing kill up in a tree, but if you come across a smell, just a heads up, don't chase it. Just keep walking. If you stumble across it, that's one thing, call Fish and Game, but be very careful, chasing that death smell out the woods, because you never know what's eating it.
That's pretty much all we got. Just hit our hour on Facebook. Thanks for joining, and